very first book of poems by Parijat Borgohain that is not just a collection of pages but a collection of emotions, experiences, dreams, and recollections brought to life through words. A book launch is more than a formal event. It is the moment when private thoughts become shared feelings, when ink meets heart, and when a writer finally lets their voice travel beyond the page. Poetry, especially, has a unique power. It speaks softly, yet leaves a deep impact. A single verse can comfort us, challenge us, heal us, or remind us that we are never really alone in what we feel. This afternoon, we celebrate not only the release of a book, but also the courage, creativity, and passion behind it. Every poem in this collection carries a piece of the author's journey, and today we are invited to walk through the journey together. So thank you all for being here to witness and support this beautiful milestone. Let us make this afternoon memorable with our presence, our energy, and our appreciation for the timeless art of poetry. With that, let us begin this wonderful celebration of words, art, and imagination. I request the invited guests and the author of Whispering Embers to kindly take their seats on the dais. Students of the Department of Geography will escort and assist them.
Hridema, he shaar, hridema, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शार दे माँ, हे शार दे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शार दे माँ, तू ज्ञानदायी हमें ज्ञान दे दे, रत्न त्रयों का हमें ज्ञान दे दे, तू ज्ञानदायी हमें ज्ञान दे दे, रत्न त्रयों का हमें.
Department of Geography. She has published 4 monographs as well as many research papers in national and international journals of repute, including a few book chapters as well. And she has also attended several prestigious international conferences around the world. She is an ardent lover of nature and she loves to travel and meet people belonging to different cultural backgrounds. She forayed into poetry writing about 4 years back. She regularly uploads readings of her poems in her YouTube account, a few of which we shall have the opportunity to listen to later on. She also uploads poems on her Instagram page, which is Parijat_Borg. I welcome her to the podium.
respected dignitaries on the dais, Indrani Rai Medhiman, the chief guest of today's function, Professor Bihaj Chaudhary and Mr. Borah, then faculty members of Cotton University, faculty members of Guwahati University, my teachers of Geography Department, Cotton University, my school friends of St. Mary's Convent, Guwahati, my higher secondary friends of Cotton College, my family members, invited guests, student friends, ladies and gentlemen. We have gathered here for the inaugural function of my very first poetry book, Whispering Embers, and I'm very glad to see all of you here, and I welcome you all from the bottom of my heart. We are all part of the infinite consciousness, and as Shakespeare also said, the world is a stage and we are all actors playing our parts. As such, I was given the opportunity to play the role of a poet by the creator 4 years back, and I have been observing my role as a poet ever since. Now life can throw surprises indeed, anytime, anywhere, and sometimes when you least expect it. My journey into the poetic world was one such surprise. A surprise so profound and sweet, for never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I could compose poems. I loved poems, and in the deep recesses of my heart, I craved to become a poet. But with the passage of time, the craving was overshadowed by other ambitions. As such, when one fine day I decided to try composing my own poem, instead of being mesmerized by others' poetry, I was very surprised as I could pen down my thoughts easily. I was shocked beyond belief, but was nonetheless thrilled and very happy as I was able to fulfill one of my childhood dreams. I could not believe that I could now pen down my thoughts, feelings, dreams, and experiences in poetic verse. I was glad, but at the same time bewildered at my new identity as a poet, for it took my spirit to a different plane of existence, where I experienced emotions in a more profound way, which was magical but at the same time also unnerving to some extent. But I realized that some things and experiences are beyond our control, and all we can do is to accept, endure, and enjoy the process, which ultimately enriches and gives new meanings to our existence. I truly believe that I inherited my poetic streak from my great uncle, Papuri Kobi Ganesh Gogoi, and from his younger sister, my maternal grandmother, Usha Gogoi, a poet herself. I would like to state that I started composing poems only after crossing 50 years, which was nothing short of a miracle in my eyes. But to my great astonishment, I found out that my grandmother, Usha Gogoi, started her poetic journey much later, when she was in her mid-60s. So it can be said without a doubt that I inherited my poetic streak from my maternal side. In the initial year, I also dabbled in drama for a short while. Being fascinated by medieval lore, I composed the poems Night Tales and Lady of the Night. Then Shivashish Thakur, my HS batchmate, and I decided to enact scenes from the lives of knights in a WhatsApp group. It required great creative insight and speed, as we would develop the story in turn on the spur of the moment. But it was short and a magical journey. Later, I also started reciting poems. Some of my poems, and I've uploaded around, say, 70 poems so far in my YouTube channel, and also a few in Instagram. The poems included in Whispering Embers are a cache of free-flowing outpourings from my soul, which I hope will captivate the minds of my readers and cajole them to be my fellow companions in this magical poetic journey. I am very grateful to the Almighty God for bestowing in me the ability to rhyme my thoughts and feelings as I continue to conjure new dreams and fantasies, hopes and aspirations. I am very grateful to my school friends of St. Mary's Convent, Guwahati, and especially my higher secondary friends of Cotton College, presently Cotton University, who have inspired and encouraged me to cultivate my newfound poetic knack, provided valuable feedback from time to time, and also for prodding me on to publish my poems in the form of a book. I lovingly acknowledge the support of my husband, Dr. Jayanta Dhekial-Fukan, and our daughters, Tanisha and Madhulika, for bearing with a Nobu poetic wife and mother as I continue my onward journey. Now, with respect to the publication of this book, I am indebted to Professor Vibhash Chaudhary for instantly agreeing to pen the foreword and for his in-depth analysis of my poetry. I acknowledge the deep sense of gratitude to Professor Hiren Gohai sir for agreeing to write a blurb. And I also am grateful to Sheikh Muhammad Sabah Al-Ahmed for writing a thought-provoking blurb for my book. I urgently acknowledge the support bestowed on me by Indrani Raimedhi ma'am with regard to the publication of the poetry volume and for agreeing to write a blurb. I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to Mayur Borah for urging me persistently to publish appreciated my poetry. This book is therefore an example of friendship, where friends push the reluctant poet to showcase her poetic potential to the world. Last but not the least, I offer my sincere gratitude to Mr. Bhargav Bharali, publisher of Vision Monk Publishing House, and the entire editorial team for working tirelessly and for publishing my poetry book within the stipulated time. I have dedicated my debut poetry book to my great uncle, Papuri Kobi Ganesh Gogoi, and to my grandmother, Usha Gogoi. Now, Papuri Kobi Ganesh Gogoi is credited to bringing in the romantic age in Assamese literature. His poems, Papuri and Sopna Bhango, about love and longing, are some of the most poignant and passionate Assamese love poems. He was not only a poet but also an actor, dramatist, and a playwright who wrote, directed, and acted in many plays, including Jerengar Hoti, Hokunir Protikot, Kashmir Kumari, among others. He was also a good football player, and during his short stint of a year in Cotton College, exactly a century ago in 1826, before he went to pursue his higher education at Ripon College, Calcutta, he was declared the best footballer during a tournament. But he passed away at a young age of 30 years due to tuberculosis, which I believe was a great loss to Assamese literature. My Anaido, or that is how we refer to a maternal grandmother, was beautiful, elegant, and talented, who did nothing extraordinary but made the ordinary things much more attractive by dint of her sense of taste, be it cooking, sewing, knitting, crochet work, and weaving. An avid reader, she read newspapers and magazines along with religious scriptures daily and cooked some delicious recipes from Bengali cookbooks. Her poems reveal her love for travel, as she had written about Delhi, Kashmir, and on Shakespeare's birthplace, Stratford-upon-Avon, which she had visited at the age of 73. Once again, thank you all for gracing this occasion and thus encouraging me on my poetic journey. Hope you have a memorable afternoon. Thank you.
You have to teach me little the smartness. Okay, pull it like this. Okay. Choose somebody keep on choosing. More than poetry lovers have to be mischievous. Yeah. Tanatani জীবন tanatani কৰি দিয়া গোটেই
পাৰিলা দিয়া Good afternoon. মই কবিক এনেই কৈ থৈছিলোঁ যে অসমীয়াত ক'বৰ কাৰণে অনুমতি দিব লাগে মাজে মাজে ইংৰাজী ক'ম বাৰু সন্মানীয় ইন্দ্ৰাণী বাইদেউ মোৰ বন্ধু ময়ূৰ, কবি পাৰিজাত আৰু ইয়াত উপস্থিত সুধীবৃন্দ। When Parijat called me to tell about this book that she has written poems and it's going to be published as a book, and I should pen a few words for it. I really agreed, and when she sent the manuscript to me, I was really surprised by the depth and the profundity of her verse. কাৰণ মই যেতিয়া কবিতাবোৰ পঢ়িলোঁ আৰু মোৰ মনলৈ যিবোৰ অনুভৱ আহিল কবিতা পঢ়ি এজ এ ৰিডাৰ, মই এনেকুৱা কিছুমান ইয়াতে অনুভৱ আৰু সেই অনুভৱ প্ৰকাশৰ বা উপস্থাপনৰ যি নতুনত্ব বা অভিনৱত্ব দেখা পালোঁ, মই আচৰিত নহয় নোৱাৰিলোঁ। বিশেষকৈ আমাৰ লগত সম্পৰ্কিত সাধাৰণ জীৱনশৈলী, আমাৰ দৈনন্দিন জীৱনৰ কথা, সেই কথাবোৰৰ নেপথ্যৰ যি অনুভৱ, আমি যাক সাধাৰণতে জীৱন দৰ্শন বুলি কওঁ, what we talk about as life philosophy, that she brought into the poems. And one of the things that I found throughout the poems running as a thread was solitariness. And this is not the kind of solitariness that we take resort to when we have no one. This solitariness, I felt, was a conversation with the self. Then কবিয়ে নিজৰ সত্তাৰ লগত এক ধৰণৰ কথোপকথনত সোমাইছে আৰু তাৰ পৰা জীৱনৰ বিভিন্ন কথা সাধাৰণ যেন লগা অনুভৱ অনুভূতিক ভাষাৰে আমাৰ মাজলৈ আনিবলৈ যত্ন কৰিছে। Another thing that I found as I read the poems was the capacity of the poet to hold herself back. সাধাৰণতে কি হয়, কবিতাৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত যেতিয়া আমাৰ শব্দবোৰ আহি যেতিয়া ভিৰ কৰে, তেতিয়া এনেকুৱা এটা আমাৰ প্ৰৱণতা থাকিব পাৰে বা থাকে যে মই যিমান পাৰোঁ শব্দবোৰ লৈ আহোঁ, তাক এক সন্মিলন ক্ষেত্ৰত সজাই লওঁ আৰু কবিতাটো যিমান পাৰি চহকী কৰোঁ। So one thing that I found in Parijat's poems was her capacity for restraint. তেনেকুৱা কিছুমান হয়তো কথা আছে যিবোৰ পাৰিজাতে ইয়াত কোৱা নাই, যিবোৰ আমি কবিতাৰ শাৰীবোৰৰ মাজে মাজে তাতে অদৃশ্যভাৱে থকা অনুভৱ কৰোঁ। And what that does in poetry is to render it as something that can be read again. So two things struck me. One is the readability of the poems. কেতিয়াবা এনেকুৱা কবিতা আমাৰ সন্মুখত আহে যিবোৰ কবিতা আমাৰ কাৰণে দুৰ্বোধ্য, they are extremely difficult, so they do not communicate even though the words may be familiar to us. এনেকুৱা হয় কেতিয়াবা, কিন্তু পাৰিজাতৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত মোৰ সেইটো অনুভৱ নহ'ল। এই কবিতাবোৰৰ যিবোৰ গাঢ়তা, the density, was not because the language was difficult, but because they communicated a thought which is very deep, profound, yet the poems are very accessible. So এই যিটো যাক মই readability বুলি কৈছোঁ, পঠনীয়তা বুলি যাক আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ, that is one of the striking features of the book. The other thing was that she was talking of different issues, some of which may not be familiar to the readers. এনেকুৱা কিছুমান কথা ইয়াত আপোনালোকে পাব যিবোৰ হয়তো আপোনাৰ কাৰণে চিনাকি নহয়, সেই অভিজ্ঞতা আপোনাৰ কাৰণে কিছু পৃথক, কিন্তু কবিতাবোৰ পঢ়িলে তাৰ মাজেৰে আপোনালোকে এইটো অনুভৱ কৰিব যে আমাৰ পৰিচিত অপৰিচিত জীৱনৰ কিছুমান অভিজ্ঞতাৰ কথাই ইয়াত কোৱা হৈছে। The themes have a sense of familiarity because we have encountered them in our own ways. So there's one striking thing when I was listening to her talking about how this book emerged was the personal note that runs through it which is also something with which you can identify. যে কবিগৰাকীৰ যি অভিজ্ঞতা সেই অভিজ্ঞতা আপোনাৰ মোৰ ব্যক্তিগত অভিজ্ঞতা নহয়, আমাৰ সকলোৰে অভিজ্ঞতা ক্ষেত্ৰবোৰ পৃথক পৃথক, কিন্তু অথচ ইয়াৰে কিছুমান কথা আমি এইদৰে অনুভৱ কৰিব পাৰোঁ যে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ এটা পৰিস্থিতিত হয়তো আমিও কেতিয়াবা নিজকে পাইছোঁ. And that actually extends the poem from the domain of the personal and the private to the public. And this is what she does very well. And another thing that struck me was as she was talking about herself and her journey. And I think if you have noticed, আপোনালোকে লক্ষ্য কৰিছে, আপোনালোকে অনুভৱ কৰিছে যে পাৰিজাতে নিজৰ জীৱনৰ কথা, কবি হিচাপে নিজৰ আবিৰ্ভাৱৰ কথা ইমান সুন্দৰকৈ, ইমান সংক্ষিপ্তভাৱে আমাৰ আগত দাঙি ধৰিছে, covering everything from her literary inheritance, from her aesthetics, from her demonstration of silence. এই গোটেইখিনি কথাতে আপোনালোকে সেই যিটো মই ৰেষ্ট্ৰেইণ্টৰ কথা কৈছোঁ, নিজকে ধৰি ৰখাৰ যিটো প্ৰৱণতা, সেইখিনি আপোনালোকে তেওঁ যেতিয়া নিজৰ জীৱনৰ কথা বক্তব্য হিচাপে আপোনালোকক ৰাখিছে তাতো দেখা পাইছে. গতিকে আই এম ৰিয়েলি প্ৰাউড টুডে that a Cottonian, and I think there is no one more Cottonian than me, because I am a Cottonian in school, I'm a Cottonian in higher secondary, Cottonian as a graduate and also as a postgraduate. So I feel very proud as a Cottonian, and there are so many Cottonians here, that she has penned this book, not just a book, an outstanding example of how poetry can be crafted, and which is now before us. So I take this moment to congratulate her, and I feel so proud because so many Cottonians have come and joined hands, and there is something about being a Cottonian that you'll always find each other around. So with these words, I thank her for considering me to be part of the journey, and I'm really grateful to everyone. Thank you so much.
Can I have a chordless?
Yes.
Chordless. In speech has attributed that the book has seen the light of the day, and a substantial portion of this credit goes to the person who is having a lot of butterflies at my stomach now, but holding the mic, nevertheless, seeing the twinkle in your eyes. I'm deeply delighted. Parijat, if you have organized for good tea and snacks, if you all become happy, after that, you can thank me. Because I know you are not going to thank me for what I'm going to say. But Bivas has so beautifully penned the foreword as well as very miserly and stingily spoken. I thought he will speak for more so that I can pick up some cues from there and also try to show a little bit of my thoughts on the poetic journey of Parijat Borgohain. এই মানুহ এজনে কৈছিল কেতিয়াবা কিবা ডাঙৰ ডাঙৰ কথা কয়. George Bernard Shaw is a great man, Nobel laureate from Ireland. He said, I think Bivas famously, that England and America are two countries separated by a common language. And if I look into Parijat's work, because there is a word of poems, I tend to remember what 15th or 16th century writer from Great Britain, Robert Brown, said, that all poets are mad. And Robin Williams, you know, the Hollywood actor, he said that you are given only little streak of madness, so don't lose it. I'm grateful Parijat has not lost that. And my contribution for Parijat is to reclaim that, retain that madness, because without madness, you cannot be a poet. You cannot be a poet. I congratulate, commend and compliment Parijat for painstakingly nurturing that madness, which has seen very beautifully today in presence of all the senior people, the respected Tinigoraki Baido, Mafuza Baido, Rupali Baido, Amar Joyashri Baido. Or Amar Logor Buletu Muk Moy Baido Bulikole, they will become very, very unpoetic. They always feel that they never say that Moyur is from our batch. Then I always say, you please remember what Nehru said, that grey hair should be respected and black hair should be suspected. But without suspecting the black hair of any people, we have come here today and beautifying this hallowed auditorium let me get back to the poetic world. See, poetry, আমাৰ অসমতো যদি আমি চাওঁ, প্ৰথম যেতিয়া সাহিত্য চৰ্চা হয় সদায় কবিতাৰ জৰিয়তে হয়। এই যে মাধৱ কুণ্ডলীয়ে ৰামায়ণ লিখিছিল, পূৰ্ব কবি অপ্ৰমাদী বুলি মহাপুৰুষ শংকৰদেৱে তেওঁ কৈছিল, কবিতা কবিতা যেন লাগে। Otherwise either they are what should I say, profoundly poetic, or poetically I think prose, like this kind of stuff, but mostly they're poetic. তাৰ পিছত আপুনি চাওক আমাৰ হেম সৰস্বতীৰ জয়দ্ৰত বধ, দেন কবিৰত্ন সৰস্বতী, ৰুদ্ৰ কন্দলী, আনসকল এই সকলোৰে দেখিব যে কবিতাৰ জৰিয়তে they have started their journey. Then emerges the Colossus, মহাপুৰুষ শ্ৰীমন্ত শংকৰদেৱ and মাধৱদেৱ, and through that they have strengthened, beautified this world. Prose আহিছে, পিছত আহিছে অংকীয়া ভাওনাৰ সূত্ৰধাৰৰ জৰিয়তে। গতিকে poetry is very very important. Poetry is very very important. Poetry is the criticism of life বুলি কয়। বহুতে কয় ৱৰ্ডছৱৰ্থৰ কথাটো মই পাৰিজাতৰ লগত বেছিকে মিল দেখো, spontaneous overflow of feelings। এই গোটেই কথাখিনি পাৰিজাতৰ লগত দেখো। আৰু পাৰিজাতৰ কবিতাৰ মাজত বিভাসে তেওঁৰ প্ৰিফেচত বৰ ফৰৱাৰ্ডত সুন্দৰভাৱে লিখিছে, which I see reflection in the first 5 or 6 poems of Parijat. Who am I? নিজৰ কথা কৈছে, নিজৰ ভিতৰৰ জাৰ্নিটোৰ কথা কৈছে। এৰিষ্টটলে কৈছিল নহয়, that knowing yourself is the journey towards wisdom. সেই কথাটো কিন্তু not on a lighter vein I have seen with Parijat. Or সেই কাৰণে, not because of any prodding, I think the biggest trigger always comes from your heart, also comes from your conscience, and also comes from the legacy which she very respectfully invoked to none other than Papuri Kobi Ganesh Gogoi. এই যিটো ঐতিহ্য, এই যিটো পৰম্পৰা, সেই পৰম্পৰাৰ মাজত থকা যিটো কবিতা, সেই কবিতাবোৰে আচলতে তেওঁ লৈ আহিছে। কবিৰ কথা ক'লে বহুত কথা ক'ব পাৰি। কোনোবাই কৈছিল a poet is a liar who always speaks the truth. জন ককটো বোধ কৰোঁ। বিভাস কাষত থাকিলে বৰ অলপ ভয় ক'বলৈ। বিভাসে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ সদায় দুসপ্তাহৰ মূৰে মূৰে আমাক নতুনকৈ সমৃদ্ধ কৰে। If I'm not mistaken, the French writer poet John Cocteau said, in fact, poet is a liar who always speaks the truth. And here sits a liar who has so beautifully gifted us a book. আজিকালিৰ সময়ত এনেকুৱা কিতাপ আপোনাক কোনে দিয়ে? কয় জন কিটছৰ কথা কয়, থিং অফ বিউটি ইজ এ জয় ফৰ এভাৰ। মই কিন্তু জন কিটছৰ অসমৰ এই গুৱাহাটীৰ ছবিখন যোৱা 3-4 বছৰত দেখি উই নিড ডেভেলপমেণ্ট, কিন্তু ডেভেলপমেণ্টৰ সময়ত অকমান যেতিয়া গছ গছনি কম মৰম কৰা দেখো, কটন সন্দিকৈ ল'ৰা ছোৱালীয়ে প্ৰতিবাদ কৰা দেখো, তেতিয়া জন কিটছৰ মোৰ এইটো কথালৈ মনত পৰে, the poetry of the art is never dead. And if you go into whispering embers, you will find that poetry of the art is never dead. The poet has not allowed those things to die, as well as তেওঁৰ জীৱনৰ আন যিবোৰ কথা আছে। She also wrote a poem on scent of a man. That's pretty amazing. And scent of a man, she has not said only has emanated from some fancy perfume that was picked up from the airport, what should you call it, duty-free shop. She was talking about the arty smell of a man. And if you broaden the scope of the poetic imagination, that arty smell does not convey only the physical part of it, it conveys a comprehensive part of the poetic imagination, in which probably sees as a metaphor the scent of a man, the scent of a beloved can ultimately spur me to touch greater heights. That's what she has done. Or if she has not done, if she has done something else, this is my poetic license to imagine after going through her poem. And I relish that, I cherish that, I celebrate that. If I cannot do this, then I cannot compliment and comment her creation also. গতিকে দীঘলীয়াকৈ মই আসলে বিভাসে দীঘলীয়াকৈ ক'লে ময়ো অকণমান দীঘলীয়াকৈ ক'লো হয়। এতিয়া সবেই ভাবিব মোৰ লগৰবোৰতো আছে খুব ভাল, তেওঁলোক খুবেই ভাল, বদনাম কৰাটো আৰু ভাল। কেইজনমান আছে, I succeeded with a professor that please write, but there is a person from a dear friend from another profession. Him also I have been telling consistently for last 1 or 2 years that you should also write. You are writing, but it must see the light of the day through a book. But he is in a different profession. He is in a profession, probably I have to say it is more slippery than being a teacher. That's why I have not been able to catch him. My friend will know whom I am referring to. He is present here. So I think they can poetically take it as something, as a dear friend I have told, because he writes beautiful poems. I'm referring to Anshuman Borah. I don't know, I saw him in the beginning, now I can't see him. Ase niki? Pispale ase no? So etu kole rajogake koi dilu aro. আপোনালোকৰ হাঁহিবোৰ দেখি ভাল লাগে। কিবা ক'বা? অ কৈছা? আমাৰ অসমৰ কবি। আমাৰ অসমৰ কবিৰ পৰা মানে এতিয়া কৰিব লাগিব। এই কথাবোৰ ন হাঁহি ধেমালিও লাগে। বিভাস ডিএছ লৰেন্সে কৈছিল নেকি, ডোন্ট বি চিৰিয়াছ অল দ্য টাইম, ইফ ইউ ৰিমেইন চিৰিয়াছ অল দ্য টাইম পিপল উইল ফিল দ্যাট ইউ আৰ ইন এ ফিউনাৰেল। নবডি ৱান্টছ টু বি ইন এ ফিউনাৰেল ফৰ অল টাইম টু কাম। গতিকে আমাক লাগিব, কিন্তু তাৰ মাজত আচল যিটো কাম, সেই কামটো ইমান আন্তৰিকতাৰে সৈতে, ইমান সুন্দৰভাৱে, ইমান, মই কিন্তু ধন্যবাদ আপোনাকো জনাম দেই, আপুনি চকু চিকিৎসক নহয়? Oh, medicine, no? Oh, I think she gets very good medicine from you, intellectually, poetically. এটা অকমান দিয়া হাত চকুৰি দিয়ে যদি ভালকে দিব হে। চাওক, পয়েটৰ লগত থাকিলে কিমান ভাল। So doctor gets the more clapping. Anyway, thank you. Don't take it otherwise. I take, and I know in the next book you are not going to call me. That's why মই যেতিয়া যিটো পাওঁ সেইটো কৈয়ে দিওঁ আৰু। কাৰণ এবাৰ গৈ গণ্ডগোল লগাব মোৰ পৰা, আন পয়েটিক কথা ক'ব, এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ হয়। ঠিক আছে, আজি বন্ধ কৰা নহয়, অকণমান শুনিবও লাগে। বেছি আৰু দীঘল নকৰোঁ। টাইম আমাৰ হ'ব, ইউ আৰ বিং ভেৰি কাইণ্ড। মই যিটো দুটা কথা লক্ষ্য কৰিলোঁ তেখেতৰ কবিতাৰ মাজত, পাৰিজাতৰ কবিতাৰ মাজত, সেইবোৰত প্ৰশ্ন সোধা আৰু জিঅ'গ্ৰাফী পঢ়া মানুহগৰাকীৰ এটা কিন্তু মই দেখোঁ, মোক খুব কম কিতাপ, মই খুব কম কিতাপ পঢ়োঁ, আৰু খুব কম কিতাপে মোক আচলতে মোহিত কৰে, কিন্তু এখন কিতাপে মোক সঁচাকে সমৃদ্ধ কৰে, মোহিত কৰে, দ্য ৰিভেঞ্জ অফ জিঅ'গ্ৰাফী, ৰবাৰ্ট কাপলানৰ। এই যে টপোগ্ৰাফি ইজ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট, পয়েট্ৰি অফ দ্য আৰ্ট ইজ নেভাৰ ডেড, এজন এই ৰোমান্টিক কবিয়ে কৈছিল 19বিংশ শতিকাৰ গ্ৰেট ব্ৰিটেইনত, আৰু ৰবাৰ্ট কাপলানে 20শ শতিকাত লিখিলে দ্য ৰিভেঞ্জ অফ জিঅ'গ্ৰাফী। মই এটা মিল দেখোঁ, এই তেওঁ কৈছে টপোগ্ৰাফি, ৰিভাৰ, অ'চেন, দে আৰ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট। And today I am delighted with so many scholars from the Department of Geography. This, I feel, is a testament to the fact that the gorgeous and a gratifying sight of technology genuflecting before geography. And that's a very, very good feather on the cap of all the people who are studying geography or want to be professors of geography at some point of time. আৰু আমি নৰ্থ ইষ্টৰ মানুহেতো ৰিভেঞ্জ অফ জিঅ'গ্ৰাফিখন পঢ়িবই লাগে। বহু মানুহে যেতিয়া কৈ দিয়ে আজিকালি সব সমান, আমি বৰ মনক্ৰমেটিক ষ্টিফনেছৰ ফাললৈ গৈ আছো নহয়। ইন দ্যাট জাৰ্নি টুৱাৰ্ডছ মনক্ৰমেটিক ষ্টিফনেছ, knowingly or unknowingly, pushed by social media, pushed by WhatsApp University, we go there. Then we read this kind of books as well as poem by a thoughtful poet like Parijat Borgohain. Amak eta beleg narrative eta dibo. A counter narrative is very important in today's life. নহ'লে মানে সকলোৱে কৈ থাকিলে মানে সেইটোৱে হয় যেন লাগি যায়। মই কোৱা নাই, বহু ক্ষেত্ৰত হয়, হোৱাটো ময়ো হয় বুলি কওঁ, কিন্তু বহু ক্ষেত্ৰত যেতিয়া নহয় তেতিয়া আমি পয়েটিকেলি ক'ব পাৰিলেতো আৰু ভাল। পয়েটিকেলি ক'লে কাকো নামো ক'ব নালাগে। মই সিদিনা পৰহি ভাৰত চৰকাৰৰ এটা সংস্থাত মোক কিবা এটা ভাষণ দিব মাতিছিল আম্বেদকাৰৰ বিষয়ে, মই তেতিয়া ক'লো মানে এনে কৈ দিব পাৰিলে when এতিয়াতো বহুতে আম্বেদকাৰক as a symbol they take it and they say lot many things. I said when Ambedkar died in 1956, many of the organizations which are paying lot of lip service today, they were totally silent. And it's not the invention of Mayur Borah, it's a fact of history. And I have got all the courage, I can stick my neck out and say that. সেই কথাবোৰ আমি এনেকুৱা সময়ত, সময় সকলোৱে কয়, সময় সকলো, আমি কথাবোৰ বৰ বেছি লৈ নগৈ নিজৰ আমাৰ whatever your situation in the job, whatever the constitution permits, whatever the rules and regulation, the rule-based order permits, within that ambit also we can say many things, but we are very scared. When we read a poet, we get lot of courage. মই সেই কথাটোৱে চাওঁ। তুমি শিৱাশিষৰ নাম লৈছিলা, মই এই ক্ষেত্ৰত I want to single out Shivashish Thakur being for so steadfastly and consistently trying the candle aloft of rational thinking and humanist thinking. In many of the editorials, if you feel that he has been transiently critical somebody, then you don't need a poetic imagination to know that this is Shivashish Thakur. I thank him because he is there in the audience, and also thank all others. আপোনালোকে পঢ়িব, Parijat Borgohain, Parijat মানে তো এটা ফুল, flower is a metaphor, নহয় জানো? গতিকে পাৰিজাতৰ এই কবি যিটো সৃষ্টি, এই সৃষ্টিৰ লগত আপোনালোকে অৱগাহন কৰি আনন্দ পাব। প্ৰণৱ গোস্বামী আমাৰ লগৰ আৰক্ষী বিষয়া, তেখেতো আছে। একো মই কাৰণে বৰ চাই কথা কওঁ, মানে নট বিকজ হি ইজ ইন দ্য পুলিচ চাৰ্ভিচ, এই চৰকাৰী বিষয়া হেৰি থাকিলে মোৰ কিন্তু এটা কবিতা মনত পৰি গ'ল। এই কবিতাবোৰ এনেকে মনত পৰে, মানে চাই নানো কিবা পঢ়ি, মানে যিটো আহে বৰপেটাৰ এতিয়া অসম আৰক্ষীৰ এছিষ্টেণ্ট পোষ্টটোৰ নামটো বৰ দীঘল নহয়, হেৰি নহয়, যি নহওক এই কবিতাটো মনত আছে, তোমাৰ পোষ্টটো পাহৰিব পাৰো। এই শৈলধৰ ৰাজখোৱাই যেতিয়া ডিব্ৰুগড়ৰ পৰা বৰপেটাত গৈ পোষ্টিং হ'ল এই ব্ৰিটিছৰ দিনত, লগে লগে লিখি দিলে কবি চাওক, আৰু সেই কথাটো আমাৰ মাজত এতিয়াও আছে, প্ৰোজ নাথাকে। অসমৰ কাশীপুৰী দ্বাৰকা মথুৰাপুৰী, অসমৰ বৰপেটা ধাম, চাই যোৱা বাটৰুৱা পৰাণ জোৰাই যোৱা, শুনি যোৱা হৰি গুণ নাম। এই ধৰণৰ কথা। যতীন্দ্ৰনাথ দুৱৰা, গণেশ গগৈৰ কথা কৈছে। যতীন্দ্ৰনাথ দুৱৰাই যেতিয়া প্ৰথম সাহিত্য একাডেমী পাইছিল, তেওঁ সেই শংকৰদেৱৰ ওপৰত যিটো কবিতা লিখিছিল, বোৱালা ভক্তিৰ সুত দিলা ধৰ্ম দিলা জ্ঞান, দিলা ভাষা অসমীক কৰিলা জীৱন দান, তোমাৰ জীৱনী দেৱ লিখে এনে খাদ্যকাৰ, গোটেই অসম জুৰি বিস্তৃত জীৱনী যাৰ। This is the power of poetry. This is the power of poetry, and that power our Parijat Borgohain has taken up as a mission which will satisfy her, which will make her definitely contented with life, with the support of her family and all other friends. And today, on this important occasion, when her dream has been substantially translated into reality in the form of a book called Whispering Embers, this Whispering Embers and the ecosystem and the encouragement that she will draw from all of us here will keep on working as an ember in her heart, so that this does not become the only poetic collection from Parijat Borgohain. That ember has to keep on whispering her, and Mayur Borah doesn't have to tell her that you have to come for the second book, because even if I say that, she will not acknowledge that, and there is a danger of saying that even I may also not be invited. Invited or not, on a mischievous tone, I'd like to thank her once again for this wonderful book called Whispering Embers, and I'm sure she will get a lot of strength and inspiration from the embers in the coming days. Thank you.
He has been so witty that I'm under pressure, but I will speak the truth. When I was invited by Parijat to come to Cotton College, it has been ages since I came here. And the first thing that occurred to me is that how can you talk of poetry, Cotton College, and not love? You know, you can't be technical and say only poetry and Cotton. So it has been a great honor for me, like so many of you Cottonians, that my first foray into literature, English literature, was ignited by the immortal Navakanta Borah sir. And he always made us question the lines, between the lines and all that. But more than Navakanta Borah sir, who does not need a lengthy explanation, I would like to talk about a young nameless cousin of mine, a young boy who had fallen very badly in love with one of his classmates. And he was in a big fix because his English was not that good, and they were very smart Don Bosco type of boys who stood a better chance with that lady because she was from St. Mary's. So that cousin of mine came and visited me, and we were talking a lot about how to get that girl for him for immortality, not even for marriage, for immortality. So he saw my book, that Paul Gray's Golden Treasury. I think that small book we always carried with her. So he said, can I borrow it for tonight? I said, okay. Next morning, he returned it to me, and a whole book, you know, the heavy underlinings. That means he was using those lines to make poems for that girl. So it was very touching, and I really encouraged him also. Then what happened that 2 days later, he came back, you know, very sad and pale, like that Keats lover. Yeah, that one. So then I said, what happened? You had the best chance, you had my advice, you had the book. Then he said that he had promised her in the morning that I will present you a bouquet of daffodils. So this girl, being the St. Mary's type, at once she realized that he's stolen from Wordsworth. And thief or no thief, a thief is a thief. She not only did not go for immortality with him, but not even a single date at Ashoka or Ramble. Very sad. So actually, then after that, when I joined journalism, I was a reporter, but plus for the last 35 years, I have seen the poetry of our young boys and girls. In the beginning, I sensed a strong colonial tilt. Lots of daffodils in so many poems, and use of words like D and da, those antiquated language. Everything was a replica of what they had read in schools and all that. Where was the Indian idiom? I think from my 20s I started reading Kamala Das, Dom Moras, Kersi Ketrak. These are the Indian poets writing in English who did not make us feel separate and our expression remains colonial, but here's this rich Indian landscape we somehow never managed to express. So that was the problem with these school kids. They were given in the syllabi lots of these Wordsworth or American poets and none of the Indian poets. So things went on, and then towards the 90s, the children became more politically active. So the favorite poem we kept getting and again, pollution, pollution, no solution. That was their poetic experience. But now, since the last couple of years, after an exposure to the global, arena of literature, whether Kundera or whoever, I have seen that children have become very introspective. They are not afraid to bear their feelings of love, isolation, sadness, or even nostalgia about the vanishing greenery of the earth. And I've seen that more than the adults who seem to just take up these issues in meetings. These children were basically tussling with it, that what is the future that is waiting for us. And there was a kind of very sensitive, gracefulness in the way they tackled the issue. They were very conscious of language and all that. So when Parijat invited me for this book, I was so happy because, in this big city of flyovers, and then yesterday I read that Guwahati is going to become the California of India or whatever. Then I thought California is a state and Guwahati is a city. Can't they even get their geography right, Parijat? You've been teaching the wrong geography. So anyway, I don't want Guwahati to be California. I don't want Guwahati to be glamorous. I don't want to look up at flyovers which shadow us. When we came along the main road, we were feeling cold because it has shut out the sunlight. It has shut out the sunlight, and I don't think that's very good for germs and whatever, or open spaces. And nowadays I have this claustrophobic, feeling about Guwahati, as if we are being forced into a mausoleum, into a coffin. And I don't see, and I have known of people who have come from North Guwahati in 15 minutes and got up, stuck up for 40 minutes in the bottom of the flight. Anyway, a poet is not supposed to talk about this. I bet she's already bored. But the main things I wrote, I always prepare 2 speeches. In case I lose one, there's still the other. So I didn't lose any of the speeches. So there are some things I'd like to do. Of course, Dibhash and Mayur have spoken so well. I will not dwell into those same analysis of her poetry. Everybody, all of us will perhaps look through a different prism when reading the poems. So now we have to, AI is like, AI comes and enters every field. We have to mention it. So now they are saying that with AI we are entering a new phase of civilization. Now that is very scary. What civilization? What will be there? We have achieved so much in this world. If we enter a new civilization, will it mean that the old ones will be gone? to what will we hold on to. I'll give you a little example. There were 20 Harvard students of literature. They were given a poem of Emily Dickinson. And they said, you analyze the poem. So they did it in their own way. Later on, it was told to them that only the first 2 lines were by Emily Dickinson originally. The rest were AI generated. So if you don't know that the book you are reading is by a real writer or an AI generated novel, do you think we will go to the extent of buying it and reading it? Because where is the soul, where is the heart of the original? This is a machine generated literature. So these kind of worries, these kind of concerns, it envelops all of us. And then of course there's this, there was a long time back, I think about 20 years, the great Oriya poet Jayanta Mahapatra, he had come to Guwahati. We had the Northeast Writers Forum then. And then there was this, there's this beautiful hotel, this Bellevue. I used to love the chicken there, the baked chicken, it's all gone. So there we had this gathering of, people who loved literature and they wanted to know more from him. And I was very raw at that time. I think I was younger than, I had not reached my 30s. Then in front of everyone, I stood up and asked him that how can a woman write poems without revealing her thoughts or her heart or whatever. So then he looked surprised at me and he said, why do you want to hide your feelings? And everybody started, laughing because it was absurd, because without thoughts you cannot have poetry. Now there is also the debate that do men write poetry differently than women? If you read maybe Amrita Pritam, it will sound different from a male, poet. Now the thing is, the answer lies in psychology. We have something what is called oxytocin. Women have the oxytocin that makes the woman tender, nurturing, caring, actually prepares us for motherhood and also for looking after the family. So in that sense, perhaps that, due to the oxytocin in our brains, the way of writing is different. But then if you look at Anna Akhmatova, militant poets, now they don't just stick to their emotion, they fight for causes. And so I will, thank God, I will end before I lose one of the speeches. So it has been wonderful for all of us today, because in the face of a concrete city leaping into us, in the face of AI, which only one, I think that you should not use ChatGPT as Google. That's all I know about AI. And I'm so happy that I've grown old. I'm not employable anymore. I'm my own master, and that AI cannot scare me. I will not lose my job because next year I will not have a job anyway. So I'm very happy. You can see me smiling because of it. And Parijat, congratulations. May you come up with more books, and may you have the goodness in your heart to invite me.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the lovely words.
Inside, I can feel your pulse, gauge your hesitation. I can sense your words before they are spoken. I can conjure what's coming from your gait and look. I know how you feel when you encounter my spirit. Your deepest thoughts, your sacred hope.
Congratulations to Parijat for coming up with this wonderful volume of work. So I have a question for her. So I think Parijat is quite a late entrant into this creative spheres, poetry in particular. So my question is, what exactly motivated you to to writing poetry? You mentioned a little bit in your initial welcome speech, but I didn't find that quite convincing or elaborate. So maybe you can elaborate a little. And I'm asking this because I think I can ask you because we were classmates. So that's why I'm taking this liberty to ask you a very pinpointed question. Thank you.
I love poems, and when I was young, I tried to compose one poem. In fact, I did compose one. It was on Latu Baba, but then it did come out that well. And then, as I said, I love poetry, but it's not that I read books. So, to tell you the truth, Paul Gregg's Golden Treasury, I think, is the last poetry book which we read. And later on, I read one or two Vikram's textbook. I don't read. But then you see, I was going through a friend's poem, and I tried to translate that poem, and I was successful, I believe, in translating the poem into English. Then after that, I thought, if I can translate a poem in whatever language into English, why don't I try writing on my own? So the very next moment, I tried to compose a poem, and as I said, I could do it. So the first day I composed 2 poems. Okay, so I mean, what I feel is that, as I said, in my case, I thought I was a very late entrant, but then it has been found out that my grandmother started after the age of 65. Okay, so it is something there. So what I want to tell you is that we are all unique beings, and in our life we have so many, things going on. But I believe that another person going through the same things, whatever I did, I don't think he may not have been successful in writing a poem. So I think it was innate. It was something innate. The thing is that I tried, and when I tried, if you have a copy of my book, I in my preface I have written a poem is there, and the name of the poem is "I Was Never a Poet." So if you go through that poem, you'll find my journey. So as I said, after I became, on the first day I wrote 2 poems. Then what I did was that every day I would sit in my veranda on an armchair. I would compose 3 poems, and then I'd say, okay, 3 is enough. That day, and so you can see, first month, second month, I composed very many poems. And then I decided that it was affecting my work. Because to compose, you need time, you need to think and all. And so that I was, instead of geography, I was going towards poetry. And that would not serve me, because I have my lessons to prepare, I have to look after my girls, I have to look after the household. And so maybe after 2 months, I decided to stop writing poems. I stopped. So for 1 month I stopped, and I did hear people saying that you sometimes have a writer's block. Okay, I heard people saying, those who write poems or those who are writers, that you have a writer's block and you just cannot write whenever you want. Okay, and so 1 month I stopped, completely stopped. And then I thought, because I wanted to write, so I thought, let me try again. But I could, and so from then on, it is not that I write every day, but by the grace of God, I have written many poems till now, and it hardly takes me 30 minutes to write a poem. I cannot tell you the number, but it comes instantly, I don't know. So, to whatever others may think, the greatest surprise was to me. I couldn't believe myself. I'm a plain girl. I say whatever I want. I call a spade a spade. I couldn't believe that a plain girl like me could become a dreamy poet. Okay, thank you.
My daily one I parless back a 60 বছর আরম্ভ করেছিলেন পিছত নোবেল প্রাইজ পালে
Thank you.
And a Parijator too. I try to call grandmother or Mr. Thank God you did not wait till that.
সেইটো মই গম পোৱা নাছিলোঁ মই অলপ দিনৰ আগতে মই ৰিচাৰ্চ কৰিলোঁ because most of her children are no more, only 3 are left. Then I found out. So she composed after the age of 65. Whereas her elder brother, Ganesh Gogoi, he composed too young and he died at the age of 30. The same sister, she became a poet after 65. And we have many poets in our family. So she's my cousin, Parijat Borgohain. She also writes poems. She's a filmmaker. We have other dramatists, musicians in the family. But the difference is that you may write poetry in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s, maybe in your 40s. The difference is that because I started so late, so I was very excited and I'm very grateful that I
Esteemed guests, faculty members, fellow peers and everyone present here. A very good evening to all. As we come to the end of this wonderful event, it is my proud privilege to deliver the vote of thanks. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished author, Dr. Parijat Borgohain, for presenting Whispering Embers and sharing such inspiring thoughts with us today. This event would not have been possible without your creativity, dedication, and contribution to the world of literature. I would also like to extend our sincere thanks to our chief guest, Ms. Indrani Raimedi, and our esteemed dignitaries, Professor Bibhas Chaudhary and Mr. Mayur Borah, for gracing this occasion with their valuable presence. Your insightful words added depth and meaning to today's program, and we are truly grateful for your time and encouragement. A special note of appreciation goes to the Cotton University for providing us with the venue for this wonderful gathering, to all the creative and supportive people in the audience for making this event a great success, and to the faculty members of Cotton University who joined us and made this gathering meaningful and memorable. I would also like to thank the anchor, volunteers, technical teams, organizers whose hard work and dedication ensured the smooth conduct of the event. I believe we had a very great time in this evening of celebrating literature, creativity and togetherness. With this, I would like to conclude the vote of thanks and request the anchor, Dr. Rajashri ma'am, to carry forward the evening. Thank you.
Stop. Congratulations. So I got it. Yeah. Vivasaha.